the spirit, I guess. Well, now, you might recall on Thursday morning at the opening service, I gave you some heads-ups regarding me, which are always needed for the people who really do not know me. So let me just review. This does not yet count as part of the sermon. Okay? These are simply introductory remarks. So put your watch away, Bill. So just to be clear about that. So to begin, not the sermon. And by the way, as an aside, did you notice that well, actually, you don't have a bulletin, but if you look up there, it says the sermon, not the homily. There you go. Yes, we're stretching out this morning. But to begin, first of all, I want to say a grateful thanks to Susan O'Brien. Susan was the one who asked if I would serve as the national chaplain. And so I agreed and said yes to Susan because of our relationship that we had developed when I was the Camp of the Ordinary in the Diocese of Chicago. So thanks to Susan for asking, the executive board for their hard work, the National Council, for all that they do for the order, for the national DOK, the international, and my congratulations to the new National Council and the officers, the junior daughters who will be transitioning, and Nancy and Patsy who organized so much of the worship for us. They really have done such marvelous pieces of work. And I've always been impressed with the care they give and the prayers which are written. And Nancy writes many of the prayers herself, which I've always found to be just incredibly insightful and deeply spiritual. And I shall miss very, very much working with all of these folks. And of course to my colleague, fellow bishop, the Right Reverend William Skilton. Bill. Thank you to Bill. Bill and I were at the same table for 3 years at the House of Bishops meetings, where Bill and I really got to know each other. We sat at a table together, had conversations and fellowship with each other. And you should know, you should know, if you don't know this already, that Bill and I really don't agree on much of anything. And Bill's nodding his head in agreement. We really don't accept. What we do agree upon is the primacy of Jesus. And because we agree upon that, then we get along fine. And of course, we've these fellows, who I will be seeing again very shortly at the General Convention, and all of the people who have helped. And many thanks to the daughters. So many of you came up and thanked me for that opening service. I was overwhelmed with that, and I was just tempted to play the video. Because, every once in a while you actually get it right. And when you do, you should just say, that's enough. All right. Now, we're almost there. We're almost there. Okay. So, again, from this morning's gospel lesson that you just heard, I do not call you servants any longer, because the servant does not know what the master is doing. But I have called you friends, because I've made known to you everything that I've heard from my Father. So keep that in mind. You know, because Jesus has told us everything that he has heard from his Father, so you know. Now we're actually, I think, approaching the beginning. I think we're actually there. Now, these past days, and it's only really been since Thursday, but they've been filled with so many wonderful things. The workshops, the keynote presentations, the table fellowship, the gatherings in the lobby, all of the many, many things that have happened. Well, we've heard throughout this time marvelous accounts of the work being done throughout the world by the daughters of the King, by you all. Children being saved and cared for, where there's no one else to care for them. And when daughters do this, they are not only helping the present, they're helping to shape the future. Children who receive this nurture when no one else was there will remember that when the world did not care, there was a woman, a daughter, who did care. And by the way, that may be the single moment in that person's life that will make all the difference. When that child, he or she grows to be an adult. Now, I know a person who worked with a licensed clinical social worker for 2 years. This person needed some serious help because life simply wasn't working out for this person. And he had reached the point where he realized that he really did not know what to do. And because he did not know what to do, he needed help because all he really knew how to do was what he had already done. And since what he had already done hadn't worked, even though he had tried over and over again, and he realized that there must be something he simply doesn't know. But how do you do what you don't know? You see. So that's what drove this person into therapy with a very highly skilled LCSW. Well, in the course of that therapy, this person working with this compassionate counselor started revealing, the life that he had lived and all the things that had happened, to him in this life. Many of which were, because I know this fellow very well, extremely sort of difficult things that had happened. And finally, after going through this, the therapist asked, a very simple question. And the question was, well, given everything that you've reported, he said, and I know that you're probably telling the truth, goodness knows, then I just have one simple question for you. And the question was this: given everything that's happened in your life, why haven't you taken a machine gun and gone to the post office and shot people? Given everything that you've reported, why haven't you done that? So he told me that no one had ever asked that question before. And the point being, because the therapist said, well, there are people in this world who have gone through things like this and have gone and done exactly that. They built a bomb, they abused children, they've done all sorts of things. He said, but you have not done any of those things. And he said, why? Why? And he thought about that for a while, and he said, I really don't know. Maybe the grace of God. But he couldn't come up with an answer to the question. So the therapist, being the wise man that he is, said, well, in his experience of working with individuals, many of whom have come to him with extremely difficult lives, he said that in every single case that he has seen, that when the person searched his life or her life and reflected upon all of the things that happened, that in every single case, there was a moment in time when someone gave to that person what was needed in the moment. It may have been an next-door neighbor. It may have been an aunt that just hugged the person. It may have been a stranger who smiled at the person at the grocery store. Or if the child was being punished severely in public by a parent, maybe a stranger stopped the parent and said, really, you don't want to be that. He said in every single case that he's ever seen, there's a moment like this when someone gave to that person what was needed. What was needed. And that has made all the difference in the world for that person. Just one moment in time saved that person. So he reflected on that point and came back, he said, with a moment in time when, as a young boy, he walked into a room to meet his grandfather, and he remembered that. One of his earliest memories, and he said that he jumped on the couch and this old man just hugged him and just seemed so happy to see him. And that he always remembered that as the moment when he felt that he had been truly loved. And then the question was, well, what do I do? He said because his grandfather had died many years earlier, and the therapist told him, well, when you pray, just say prayers. And maybe go to the cemetery and put a flower and just say, thank you. You don't know, but you saved my life. You saved my life. Now, in Mark, Jesus says, and we were told about this in one of the presentations. In Mark, Jesus says that to be great, one must serve. And that this is the way of Jesus, to walk in this way. And this is what that means. To be great, one must serve. And this is true not just for an individual. It's also true for a congregation. It's true for an order, such as the DOK. It's true for a community. It's true for a nation. To be great, one must serve. And we were reminded by another speaker during this week, and I apologize because I was there in back taking notes. Thank you. That was not part of the sermon. Can we edit that out of the stream? They'll never know. So we were reminded by one of the, and I'm going to put that in my pocket, not leave it for the next person. All right. Matt knows, and I may need another one. Now, we were reminded by one of the speakers, and I don't recall who it was. I was sitting in the back. You probably saw me back there with my phone, going like this, and I was actually taking notes. Not playing Angry Birds. I was taking notes anyway. But we were reminded by one of the speakers that what is written in the Gospel according to John was this, that the disciples of Jesus will be known by how they loved each other. Okay. John 13:35 to be specific. And so you could say from this that the way they love one another reveals their souls. Okay, reveals their souls. Or you could say behavior reveals the condition of the soul of the person, church, order, community, nation, or world. Behavior reveals the condition of the soul of the person, the church, the order, the community, the nation, of the world. So, daughters, if what is demonstrated by behavior is hate, division, intolerance, and prevarication, then the soul of the person, church, order, or nation is simply sick. Based upon these two criteria, to be great is to serve, and that the behavior of the people reveals their souls. Disciples of Jesus will be known by how they love each other. based upon these two criteria and the evidence of the last few days, I would say that the spirit and soul of the DOK is healthy and you are great. You do not need to be made great again. Okay. Now, whoa, says Bill. Whoa, says Bill. Whoa. There's one. Whoa. God needs you, as I said at the beginning, to help heal this world. To bring it to a new health based on God's strength and not on man's strength. Now, to aid you in this, you have a new strategic plan that recognizes that even after 133 years, your work has just begun. After 133 years, your work has just begun. And in this new 21st century world, we face new challenges. And it was clear to the National Council that there is an urgent need to develop a viable strategic plan to help the DOK face the challenges of the 21st century, to help a new generation to pray, serve, and change the world. Quoting directly from the video from the strategic plan. Now, Martin Luther King quoted an adage from Theodore Parker. Okay, so it's from Theodore Parker, a Unitarian minister. And he quoted it, and it goes, you probably know this one, the arc of the moral universe is long, but it bends toward justice. The arc of the moral universe is long, but it bends toward justice. However, it doesn't do it on its own. You see. Sometimes when we hear that statement, we think that I don't have to do anything. But Martin Luther King knew that while this may be true, it doesn't happen by itself. It takes work to make that happen. And it happens because of the little actions that are taken in the lives of people, and sometimes major ones, like going forward and getting shot down as he was. It takes sacrifice and commitment, because although it does tend to do this, it doesn't happen on its own. It just takes work. And there are always personal moments when each one of us has an opportunity to make the world better. Okay, now let's get this slide up, please. Now, normally in a sermon or homily, you don't get a slide. And what that means is now we don't know if this is a sermon or a homily or it's one of those whatevers. Okay, now you see this. Now I actually made that myself. 2 hours with Photoshop, there it is. Actually, I'm lying. It was only 2. Really, I actually did that myself. I used blue and white. So there it is. Now, so there are times when an order, a person, a nation, and the world reach a moment when two arcs, these are circles, not arcs, but you'll get the point, intersect to make a cusp point, a cusp. And at that moment, the order or the society or the person can leap from the trajectory of one curve onto the other one. One arc will take us down, the other will take us up. And I believe we're at just such a moment in this world. And that red dot there is where I believe we are collectively. Not just the order of the DOK, but the entire world. So we'll either go up, I think, by the choices we make things that we do, or we'll just go down into the dustbin of history. Now, back to the text. Okay. Jesus said to his disciples, I do not call you servants any longer, because the servant does not know what the master is doing. But I have called you friends, because I have made known to you everything that I have heard from my Father. In other words, we know what God is trying to do. We know this. And what God is trying to do, well, he's trying to save the world, change the world. And that's good church language. But what is God trying to save the world? Or what is God trying to save the world from? Now, good church language would say sin and death. Now, that's good church language, sin and death. The only problem I have with it is, it doesn't really work. It doesn't really get at what God is trying to save us from. It's good church language. And if you say, well, God's trying to save us from sin and death, I would never say to you, well, you're wrong. I said, that's good. And what does that mean? You say. And simply stated then, what God is trying to save us from is us. From ourselves. That's it. God wants to save us from us. Save the world from us. And if you look at the environment, the degradation of the planet, we have to say we need help. Now, my friend Canon Stephanie Spellers gave a definition of evangelism, the spiritual practice by which we see, name, and celebrate Jesus' loving presence in the stories of all people, then invite everyone to more. To more. Amen? Amen. Now, and she had you share your story of being low and how you experienced resurrection. And on these pieces of cardboard that she gave, and you wrote this down, and on the other side you wrote how God came and gave you this moment of resurrection. And you went and shared that with each other. And she said, proving once again I was really listening, she said that maybe your life has been cracked, you see, but that is how the light can get in. The stories of all people now is what's important here. All people. Not just us gathered here, but all people, because that's what she says. The loving presence and the stories of all people, and invite them into more. The stories of all people, and some of the stories are just awful. Just awful. They're horrible, ugly, harrowing. And some stories are so painful they have no words. None, just screams and cries. That's all. So, hear the stories of others. Hear the stories told in the crying of children and parents separated from one another. Hear the stories that others do not want to hear. That the world turns its back upon because they really don't want to hear them. Because some people, as we know, in this world, according to the way we live, just don't count. But they do count to God. And from what I've seen of the daughters, they count to you as well. Hear the stories that others do not want to hear. Help them to be heard, and help that person, those people, those many people, to experience resurrection. And help save the world. As you have experienced resurrection, help others to do the same. Help one person and save the world. March for the rights of women and save the world. Restore one person's humanity to save the world. Give a preacher a tissue save the world. Give a person a cup of cold water to drink. Save the world. Smile at a child that may be hurt or may be tugged around. let that child know that he or she is seen and save the world. Claim your voice, use it. Save this world. So, daughters, I leave you with that charge. It's a big one. And of course, the daughters alone cannot do it. You can't contribute to it. And you have for 133 years. And I'm confident that you can continue that into the next 133 years. Keep doing what you're doing and do it more